I counted about 8 Division I level or prospects, four commit signees on the floor at one time. So high-level hoops, maybe the highest level of hoops, and Hardvard-Westlake got them in the end.
Yep, they won in the overtime, the second overtime, but it wasn't easy. All right, let's talk a little flag football here. It looks like the city section has said okay to flag football. Now, there's other steps before we get to flag football, but we're going to talk about flag football in this program. I'm looking forward to getting Vicki Lagos' thoughts on the city section and how it's going to do.
I can't imagine the girls' flag football mission not just being an absolute just booming success. You see a little footage here, but I think there are ladies out there just raring to be the quarterback, wide receiver, running back, and I think there are some girls that are ready to kind of get physical too, So really, really interesting, and I think it's going to get a great response.
I think early on it's going to get a huge boost. It's equality for the ladies playing football. That's not tackle football, but flag football is fun. And I think from a spectator standpoint, people are going to want to come out and watch flag football. So with that in mind, let's bring in Vicki Lagos from the LA City section. Looks like she's in a library. She's got a great setting behind her. Vicki, good evening, and how are you?
I'm fine. Thank you for having me, Tarek and Randy, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. All right, where are we with flag football in the LA City section? Why did you have this vote recently, and what does it mean?
Well, our vote will take place on Tuesday. It already passed through our executive committee. The Southern section actually brought this forward, and it'll go to vote statewide on February 3rd. So if that's voted yes, which from all the league meetings I've attended and what we've seen, that it looks like it will move forward. It'll be a fall sport for us, and we have done some preliminary work, and we've had over 30 schools say that they'd be interested in starting girls flag football in the fall.
That's awesome. What excites you most about the potential of having flag football in the LA City section?
Well, we're coming off the heels of the anniversary of Title IX, and so adding another female sport and another opportunity for females to participate is exciting. It's a sport that I think you're going to draw athletes from various sports, and some athletes that haven't had a fit for them, this will be a nice fit for them as well. It's a sport that I wish I could have played growing up and participated in, so I'm a little bit jealous in that aspect. But I think it's going to show a lot of interest in the way that the schools are deciding. The logistics haven't been set yet, so they really can go from the ground level and build this any way that they'd like.
You kind of stole the word out of my mouth. Logistically, it kind of seems like, hey, some flags, jerseys, you might need, 20 girls. It just seems like the participation and the interest is there, and it's not going to take a whole, you're not going to need 100 girls out there to get a program going. That's got to make things exciting, especially for the city section.
I think it does, and I think it was exciting for us to see how many schools were interested at the beginning. We began beach volleyball last year. We had 8 teams start, and so this year we've grown to 15 that'll be participating in this spring. But to have over 30 teams sign up already and show an interest means that this is something that our student athletes really want.
What do you, if you could kind of like get a magic wand and and what do you envision the season being like, and the interest being like, whether it be from the players or from the fans?
Well, and I think that's what's going to be exciting for us. In our section, we only need 6 teams to have a championship. So if we have 30, we'll be having a championship next fall in the sport of flag football. We've heard different variations. Some leagues want to do it, Thursday nights before. Some want to do a Friday night jamboree and have 3 or 4 teams and have a couple of games in one section. Each league has the autonomy to create, once we create those leagues and set it up how they want. But I think there's going to be a lot of interest and a lot of excitement around it.
Let's change gears a little bit. I know there's re-leaguing going on or about to go on in the LA City section. I know my old school, North Hollywood, and I say old, because it was a long time ago when I was there, but they're going to move out of the East Valley League and apparently go into the Valley Mission League. Can you tell us more about the re-leaguing?
Well, if this passes, a vote will take place on Tuesday as well for this. The East Valley and the Valley Mission Leagues were the two leagues that had the biggest shakeup. In the coastal region, Gala, when they came in, they weren't given a permanent league, so they asked to be placed in a permanent league. So that will take place there. But the biggest shakeup, if passed by the board of managers, which was recommended by the executive committee earlier this week, the East Valley would consist of Arleta, Grant, Monroe, Panorama, Reseda, Van Nuys, and Verdugo. And the Valley Mission would be Canoga Park, Chavez, John F. Kennedy, North Hollywood, your alma mater, Pauley, San Fernando, and Sylmar.
Wow, yeah, that would make things interesting. One for me, Vicky, just, we talked about a little bit before the show. You're in your 4th year. Can you maybe just share what you has been most gratifying and maybe gratifying and surprising? Maybe you already knew what you were getting yourself into, of course, being with the section for a long time, but something the last 4 years that you felt, wow, I didn't expect this, and it's been really enjoyable for you as commissioner.
The community that we have, I think it's a family that we're helping to create, and it's something we really are striving to do in our office, is to get out to more events. And that's something that I was on my platform to do. And so it's something I've been able to get out to more areas of the city, to see more games, to see different sporting events that I normally didn't. And it's fun to see to the student athletes. And, we had the COVID period, and it just seemed like, oh, are we ever going to get back out there again? And once we did, I remember sitting there and watching my first game and almost being in tears because I was so excited for the student athletes to finally get out to be able to participate again. So it's been a little bit of a different journey. I never would have anticipated that we would have had something like that in my first couple of years. But we were able to rally around as a community and as a family.
Last ad for Vicky Lagos. How great a soccer player were you at Kennedy High School?
I was okay.
Okay.
It was different back then. In the Valley, at the time, there were only two girls high school teams in the entire Valley, so it really dictated where I went to school. And I grew up playing with the same group of girls all through, since I was 6, 7 years old, all the way through high school. And I'm still very good friends with a lot of them today. So, it's been a part of my life.
Great to have you on the program. I know you'll be interested with E.B. Mata coming on and his fine player as well. I know you're very proud of the Birmingham boys soccer team as well. Vicky, thanks a lot. We really appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you for all your support.
You got it. Gotta love Vicky Lagos.
Oh man, she's doing a great job, and that's one I see her at all the games. Every time I'm at a big event, I see Vicky Lagos, and she's always excited. And yeah, it's great to see her at commissioner.
All right, quick topic of soccer before we get to E.B. Mata. Let's talk a little city section soccer because E.B.'s in the city with his Birmingham team. On the girls' side, San Pedro, who are going to have on our Pacific Surfliner game of the week on the 30th on a Monday against a great Cerritos team. San Pedro 16-1. Right now, they seem to be the best team, better than the West Valley League teams.
Yeah, that's usually rare to hear. I would say El Camino Real, which I believe is still unbeaten in league play, and they're doing it without one of their best players, by the way, this year. They got Coach Eric Choi, and he certainly knows how to dial it up and get those girls ready. So I would say there's a collision course in the city final between ECR and San Pedro, and we'll see who wins that one.
Well, on the boys' side, Birmingham appears to be the best team. And I know EB doesn't want me to talk about this because they were the best team last year, but they lost a heartbreaking championship game trying to win a second straight title. They won it the year before. They lost in overtime 2-1 to Southeast. In soccer, the really good teams, not a given to get all the way there. But Birmingham is the best boys team right now.
Yeah, and I think EB would tell you, on any given day, if you're just, the touch is a little off or one heavy touch, now you're down a goal, and things change. The dynamic of a match changes, and so that's kind of the beauty and the art of the game. And so I'm really interested to speak with EB.
All right, we're going to get to EB and Oscar Vargas now. Of course, again, EB Mata, 22 years of excellence and 4 city titles in 6 city championship appearances. Gentlemen, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having us, Randy.
Well,
Appreciate
EB,
you guys talking.
You and I go back a ways. You did some color commentary on our station here on some great soccer matches a few years ago. Why have you been able to build such a power in Birmingham in boys soccer? Every year you're there, and that's the bottom line. Getting there, giving your team an opportunity to win a championship. How has it developed?
Well, I think, one, you have to have talent. We're blessed with getting a lot of talent. And then after that, we've got an incredible administration that backs us 100%. We have great facilities. That also helps a lot. And when you've got facilities, you've got talent, you've got an administration that backs you, and you've got a quality education program, you know, it's very appealing to kids. And we just, we have a great coaching staff, I think. My assistants are some of the best in the game. And all that leads to being consistent and doing well.
Oscar, my question for you, tell us a little about your game. You've got 15 goals this season. Are you a speedster? You play with a little flair? Are you physical? What's your game like?
I'm very physical, like as a 9. I'm always finding like the goal scoring positions to get the goals.
Oscar, you know, you transferred from Moore Park. You played 3 years there for the Musketeers. How have you been able to fit in with the Birmingham team? How comfortable is it for you to be a Patriot this year?
The team, like all the players helped me like fit in. They were very like being a new person to the school. They helped me fit in and made me very comfortable with the team.
Let's get E.B. Mata's thought on his player. What makes Oscar so great for you? And he had 2 goals just yesterday and a big win for you and an easy win over Cleveland. E.B., why is he a special performer?
Well, there's several reasons. I mean, he's got a great knack for the goal. His positioning, he always puts himself in a position where he can score goals. And Oscar's got great leadership ability. So one of the things that, you know, he says he's comfortable at the school, but he came in and right away he assumed the position of a leader. And the kids like to follow him. He has good speed, he's got good size, and he's got a great touch on the ball. His passing ability and his shooting ability is some of the best I've seen in high school soccer.
E.B., I know you've been around the game a long time, just 22 years at Birmingham alone. My question for you is more so about the interest in the growth of the game in America. As a young kid, I remember watching the English Premier League and some of these old Chelsea teams. That's what kind of got me into soccer. But now the EPL is easy to find. It's on Channel 4 on the weekends. It's online. Do you feel like the exposure, and I'm using the EPL as one example, but the exposure of the international game and some of the leagues that are the best in the world to these young kids, has that helped the development of interest here in America and maybe why guys are so talented?
Oh, I absolutely think that's got a lot to do with it. I mean, our basketball and football here is because of the exposure that they've gotten on television over all these years. Well, that started with soccer with the EPL, now with La Liga, with the Bundesliga, all of them getting the exposure on television and all these kids having role models and seeing that. You know, they're all following the game all the time. I think that's had a big, big effect on the growth of this game.
Oscar, how did you get started in soccer? What was your influence early that got you into the game?
When I was like around, well, before I was like even walking, my dad always put a ball like on my legs. And as I grew up, I just always played soccer and never really thought about playing something else.
What was the hardest thing to learn about the game?
Kind of like being able to lose and like be back the next week and try to win that game.
You and every other athlete. That's a tough one. What came easy to you on the flip side? What came easy to you to the game?
Honestly, like working as a team, like from the start, I've always liked working as a team. It helped me a lot throughout like my career.
E.B., obviously you're the favorite. That's not a guarantee, and you found that out last year. The best team doesn't always win championships. So who are you going to have to go through down the road to win another LA City title?
I think the usual players in the Valley, we're going to have to go through El Camino. Cleveland this year is doing extremely well. I think they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. In the LA City section in the Valley, those two teams besides us, and they're in our league. So they're forces to be reckoned with. Then there's always one or two teams in LA that, come out in the end surprising to me because we never get to see those LA teams. And I think the dark horse in the Valley from LA City section is probably Canoga.
Yeah, Fremont has a very good team. I know Torek has another thought for you.
We've talked a lot about our guy Oscar here and EB, but can you share a couple more names? Give some love to the rest of the roster. Who's good in the back? Who's good at between the posts? Who's setting up Oscar for all these goals?
So, if we're looking at Birmingham's loaded this year with players that are talented, and if I start from the back, the other captain, Joe Barcenas, is solid as a center back. But on his left is a sophomore. Joe's a senior. On his left is a sophomore, Steven Ramos, who's probably considered by a lot of college recruiters one of the best left backs in the game right now in high school soccer. In the midfield, we've got Hector Perez, who's a great 6. But we have another sophomore, Adrian Diaz, and Diego Ceja, who worked tirelessly to set up goals for Oscar. And our leading goal scorer right now is Jerry Ramos. Jerry's got 18 or 19 goals now, and he is fast and he's lethal. So, I could go on about every player on the team, but those are the guys that come to mind right now.
Gentlemen, that was, by the way, EB, that was a great description of your roster there, and obviously you have talent. We want to wish you guys the best of the luck going forward. We know you're going to be in the tournament, and obviously you're a favorite to win the city championship, and best of luck. I'm sure you'll do very well. Thanks again for coming aboard.
Tarek, Randy, thank you for having us.
You got it. Take care.
Thank you.
Oscar, nice meeting you.
Nice to meet
They're
you.
always a story. They're always a story in the city section. There's no question about that.
Yeah, and unfortunately they were on the wrong side of it. But you know what? Sometimes that's a story too. And I know that'll motivate those returners. And Birmingham's always the team to beat, and so I don't see it being any different this year.
All right, we're going to step out. When we come back, we're going to talk a lot of hoops, boys and girls basketball. We're going to talk about it when we come back after this from Pacific Surfliner. All right, we don't have our spot on Pacific Surfliner, but that's okay. They're a proud sponsor of SoCal Prep Report. Tarek, let's talk a little hoops. We'll start with the ladies. The number one team in the country.
That's right.
Sierra Canyon, they won again tonight. Juju didn't play this evening, but they still beat Hardvard-Westlake. It was a rematch of the game we had earlier. Juju didn't play in that one. Juju's got a bad ankle, but Sierra Canyon, undefeated, ranked number 1 in the country.
Yeah, I actually had the opportunity to go to the Hoop Hall Classic in Springfield, Massachusetts, and got to see Juju Watkins absolutely have an outstanding performance. And they beat Sidwell Friends of D.C., who came into the country number 1 in the. They came into the season, number 1 in the country. And when they played, Sierra Canyon was 3 and Sidwell was 2, and Sierra Canyon won. So in the recent polls, Sierra Canyon's now number 1. And I just don't see anyone beating them. Maybe Etowanda, maybe.
Etowanda just dropped their first game to another outside of the city powerhouse outside the state. All right, in fact, the team from New Jersey beat them. We're going to step out now here from our friends at Pacific Surfliner.
California has always been a land of discovery. From historic gems to iconic beaches to top attractions. Let the Amtrak Pacific Surfliner be part of your journey as you explore more of the place we call home. Reconnect with the communities you love most, with the people you love most. Isn't it time you rediscovered Southern California?
All right, time for the Girls Top 10. We've already previewed it for you. Our Pacific Surfliner, Girls Top 10. You know it's Sierra Canyon number 1. They're undefeated. They're 21-0. There's Etowanda. and the rest. I mean, it's a good group. Marlboro's, by the way, in the Mission League now. They just lost to Sierra Canyon, but they're a good basketball team. Westchester dropped their first game, but they also had a huge win over a very good Long Beach Poly team.
I think Marlboro, remember, they're the defending Mission League champion. Now, that's before Sierra Canyon entered the league, but Marlboro's probably going to finish second in that league and probably make a good Division I title run. Really, really good team coached by Six Johnson.
And Los Osos has a great point guard in Destiny Knight, so they're up there, got a good record at 15-3. Sage Hill played some very good competition. All right, let's check out the boys group. Again, there's Hardvard-Westlake. We're going to talk a lot about them. We have some video coming up on the Wolverines. They won that dramatic game. We'll get to that Notre Dame contest in a moment. There's Corona Centennial, the two-time champions of the whole state. They've been better than anybody. They have a great ball club. McCain is terrific. Williams, they got a ton of talent. Montgomery's great. There's West Ranch, and I know you love that team.
Yeah, West Ranch is the team that's really, really talented, and I would argue that on paper, West Ranch is the most talented team on this list. Ask any coach about that. But can they put it together? The challenge West Ranch has actually is their league doesn't really challenge them. So they're going through this lull of like 7 or 8 games in a row where they're blowing teams out by like 20, 30 points. And that doesn't really bode well come playoff time. You want to generally have some competitive games to keep your tools sharpened, so to speak. So kind of an interesting thing to watch there. But West Ranch will be in the Open Division for the first time in school history.
St. John Bosco has a terrific guard in Elsie Harrington.
Really good.
Yeah, he's really good. UCLA's
Only a sophomore.
looking at him. Yeah, he's tremendous talent, 6'3", can really score the ball. There's Miracosta with a wonderful record at 20-1. Mater Dei has Zach Davidson, his brother Nick's at Nevada. Mater Dei lost a few games in league this year, which is a rarity, but you never can count out the Monarchs, can you?
Yeah, I think I can.
Well, Bosco's better right now.
Yeah. Bosco's the team to be, Mater Dei, I think, dropped their first, 3 of 4 Trinity League games.
Lost to Jay Sarah.
They're rocky. I don't know if they get into the Open Division now, with something like that.
How odd would that be to see them in D1 or D2?
Yeah, it would be odd. I hear you on that. It would be really, really interesting. But, they're a mortal team, so to speak, compared to years past.
Yeah, they're really young, and it's a transition year for Gary McKnight there. But historically, Mater Dei is really good. They're still good. They're 16-5. And speaking of good, we got to talk about that game from last night. Sherman Oaks, so much talent. You talked about it on the floor, Tarek. In Sherman Oaks at Notre Dame. Again, I love the atmosphere. You said it was old school, kind of like a Hoosiers environment.
Yeah, it was a really good environment and really fun. Here we go. Okay, for a second, I wasn't sure what we were talking
about. We're showing highlights of Hardvard-Westlake.
Okay, yeah.
And Juju Watkins' team, Sierra Canyon. That was from the first.
Here are some real highlights here. That's Brady Dunlap, who's going to Notre Dame. Here's 2 straight blocks from Dusty Stromer. I mean, the highlights just keep going. Mercy Miller is committed to Houston. Look at that take. Nice lay in there and good touch from him. Trent Perry to who else? Jacob Huggins down low. The game was back and forth, maybe double digits in lead exchanges.
I loved Huggins. I just love his motor, his ability to rebound, number 12 in the dark uniforms of Hardvard-Westlake. And there's Foster getting fouled going inside.
Yeah, Caleb Foster, probably the most unguardable player in the Valley, maybe even in Southern California, and he's going to Duke. Now, here we go real quick. Trent Perry gets fouled here, and that foul fouled out Caleb Foster. He made 2 free throws. This game was tied. Nick Kamenia comes down. He gets 2 free throws to tie it again, and a game-winning shot attempt goes awry, so they go into overtime. Nick Kamenia again in the first overtime. 4-point lead for Hardvard-Westlake. Doesn't matter. Here comes Mercy Miller, ties the game. Notre Dame had a chance to win the game here. Look at this. Dusty Stromer thought he got fouled. No call, so they go into a second overtime, and this is when Hardvard-Westlake pulled away. Brady Dunlap with an up and under. Nice little shot over Dusty Stromer. Again, a 4-point lead and a couple of free throws from Trent Perry. Kept Notre Dame at bay. Mercy Miller's shot at the end, no good. So Hardvard-Westlake stays unbeaten in the Mission League and has Sierra Canyon on Friday, and I know you want to say a couple of things about that.
We got a promo on that one. I also want to say one last ad about that game.
Sure.
I thought that was the best high school exhibition of foul shooting in the clutch by both teams. They were just terrific at the free throw line with the game on the line. Numerous players. You don't see that very often in high school.
Trent Perry alone, only a junior who had 27 points, was 15 of 16 from the free throw line, 8 of 9 in the fourth quarter, and 2 overtime periods to help Hardvard-Westlake win that game. You are absolutely correct.
And Kameni hit a lot of key foul shots as well to keep Hardvard-Westlake alive. All right, we do have our Pacific Surfliner game of the week. We're very proud that tomorrow night at 7 o'clock we'll have the game against Sierra Canyon, Bronny James and company. There it is. Originally it was going to be at 6. They've moved that game now to 7 o'clock. It's going to be a very, very big game, obviously, and we are thrilled. 7 o'clock tip, Pacific Surfliner game of the week. That's a tough one to call. By the way, the underground line on this one, believe it or not, I found an underground line. It has Hardvard-Westlake favored by 3. But I know you like the over and under that's, what, 108.5 or something?
I think we saw 108.5 out there, and Hardvard-Westlake's given 3 points to Sierra Canyon. It's going to be a great game. Let's not forget, real quick, little history recap. Last year, Sierra Canyon had hosted Hardvard-Westlake in what ended up being the Open Division semifinal. Whoever would win the group and go to the final, and Hardvard-Westlake ended up being the one dancing out the gym. Brady Dunlap had a great game. They ended up seeing each other again in a regional semifinal, and Sierra Canyon got them back, but eventually ended up losing to Corona Centennial. So there's a little bit of history there between the two teams, and now they're in the same league. It's going to be an absolute circus on Friday night with Sierra Canyon in Studio City.
Yeah, we're going to get there a little earlier. I'm going to have Connor Morissette helping me out doing the commentary along with Kara Blumfield. She's going to do a little reporting on the game as well and help us out. Should be a terrific show. What's the key to that game? What do you see as a key in that one?
You know, it's a great question. I just think who is going to score in transition? And, you know, Sierra Canyon in recent years has been, oh, man, can't let them get out in transition, you know, with Amari Bailey and some of the athletes they've had. They're not quite as lethal in transition this year. So I think it's an even playing field there. Whoever can get stops and score in transition, likely to win the game.
30 seconds or less. There's a modern-day football story. I read about it. I didn't find any details about what's going to go on this crazy investigation.
Well, I think you pretty much just nailed the story on the head, and that's just because Modern Day did an internal investigation and actually vowed to release that information at the end of the public and the media, and here we are. Yeah, sorry, we're going to keep it close to the heart, and I wonder why. It creates a bigger story and more question marks. Bad move by Modern Day, but just to wrap it up, not a good look. And, hey, you do an investigation. We want to know what you found, and you're not going to tell us. Very odd. But you know what I will say? There are some good journalists here in Southern California, and that information will get out.
And I know one good journalist, Tarek Fatal. I know where he's going to be tomorrow night. Normally, I ask you where you're going to be. You're going to be at our game, right?
That's right. I'll be in Studio City nice and early. Maybe a hot something to eat with a cool drink, and I'll be there like 4 o'clock because it's going to be unbelievable. The only thing I will say that won't make it as crazy is the Lakers are playing, so LeBron will not be at the game. So that helps it not be too chaotic. When LeBron shows up, it goes nuts.
It'll be a circus. But Bronny's there. His brother Chase is there.
Bryce.
Bryce. Did I
Yes,
say Chase?
yes,
Bryce.
yes.
Bryce James, Bronny James.
That's right.
So we got most of the James there. I'll bet his mom's there, right?
Robert Ory will be there for Hardvard-Westlake.
Christian plays for Hardvard-Westlake.
Pippen might be there for Justin Pippen.
Right.
I don't think Penny Hardaway is going to show up. He's got some coaching to do. Yeah. But, hey.
His son, Ashton, is on the Sierra Canyon. He's the coach at Memphis. And, by the way, Ashton's going to join him down the road. Anyway, Tark, great having you aboard again.
I wish we had 10 more minutes.
Well, we could do that, but then we'd bleed into other programming. For Tarek, I'm Randy. We'll see you next time, right here, 9 o'clock, next Thursday on SoCal Prep Report. Good night, everybody.